Joining me now is Nolan Watson, President and CEO of Sandstorm Gold Royalties. Great to see you again, Nolan.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Now, a lot of Red Cloud viewers will know a lot about Sandstorm Gold Royalties. Some may not. So let's refresh the story. You're one of the biggest gold royalty companies in the world. You struck a couple of big deals in recent months that you call transformational. You've got a new leg of growth now with some strategic partnerships. So get everybody up to speed on what the company's all about.
Yeah, so Sandstorm, as you said, is one of the 6 largest gold and streaming royalty companies in the world. They're sort of the 3 majors: Franco-Nevada, Royal, and Wheaton Precious that I used to work at as their CFO. And then the next 3 down are Sandstorm, Triple Flag, and Osisko Gold Royalties is the next 3 largest in the world. And so we've been building this company for a number of years. We've built a portfolio of hundreds of streams and royalties, many of which are cash flowing right now. And today's gold prices, cash flow is running in that 120 million, going up to once a couple more mines come online, will be $200 million US of free cash flow per year. So it really is a cash flow machine that we built here over the years.
Nolan, these transformational deals you did with Base Corp and Nomad, you say it's really going to ramp production. You've used the phrase, we're going to be a cash flow machine in the next few years. So what will the numbers look like? You sort of touched on a bit there.
Yeah, I think there's sort of 2 things to think about. One is, what do the cash flow numbers get to, but also, and very importantly, and this is where those transactions that we recently made make a big difference, is what is that cash flow going to be able to maintain itself over the very long period of time without having to do acquisitions? So cash flow numbers, like I said, once another couple mines start coming online here over the next few years, at today's gold prices should be over $200 million a year. Again, that's US, that's after tax. So very strong cash flow numbers. But more importantly than that, one of the reasons that we made the acquisitions that we did is that we really believe that you should build a royalty and streaming portfolio with high quality, long life assets that are producing in the lowest cost quartile. So not only is the cash flow going to be high, the duration of that cash flow is going to be very long. We're working on a new version of a presentation right now that will come out shortly. That's going to be able to show that once we sort of reach that 110,000 plus gold royalty ounces per year. And remember, gold's over $2,000 an ounce, and we pay almost nothing to get those ounces, so it's mostly free cash flow. That we're going to be able to maintain that for close to 20 years without making any future investments. And then it'll continue on past the year 20, but just not quite at that 110,000 ounces a year. And so we built this machine that's just going to turn out cash flow year after year from high quality assets. I'm very bullish on gold, so we think that those numbers hopefully will go up as the gold price continues to go up. And right now we've got a little bit of debt, we're repaying that, and then we're going to recharge the balance sheet and get ready for the next leg of growth.
And we'll get your views on gold in just a moment. Now, in terms of your assets, about 18 months ago, let's call it, you really felt, along with your team, that you had some assets that the markets just weren't appreciating. So you spun out a Horizon Copper, of which you own the majority stake, or at least the Sandstorm Gold Royalties does. And then you've created a Sandbox Royalties along with your partner, Equinox Gold. Now, starting with Horizon Copper, you're bullish on copper. You really believe in the shift to green energy. So give us the strategy there. And second part of that is, I know you're in the process of a reverse takeover, turning Horizon Copper public eventually. So when is that going to happen?
Yeah, so I guess first we'll start with Horizon. So both why Horizon and when it'll be public. I was just talking with the CEO here about 20 minutes ago about that. Our goal is in the next sort of 3-4 weeks that thing will be up and running and publicly trading. So it's imminent and on the precipice here. Why Horizon is we really feel that the green energy transition is going to be the single largest capital allocation opportunity in human history. It's going to take trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, and what people don't realize is that these enormous amounts of base metals, including copper, that there just aren't enough of to allow that transition to happen. Now, Sandstorm, we're not a copper company, we're a precious metal royalty company, and it just so happens that a lot of these massive mines that are going to have to be built in the future have gold byproduct in them, and there's a perfect funding mechanism to get those mines up and running. And so Horizon, what it's going to be is a mining company focused on copper, which I'm super bullish on copper, but its purpose will be to go out and buy copper assets where there is a gold royalty or gold stream that can be done at the point of acquisition or at the point of construction. So Sandstorm will inherently have built beside it, working out of our own office, an organization that is not going to phone one of our competitors when it's time to do a gold stream. They're just going to walk down the hall and talk to us, and hopefully we'll get large deals with good rates of return for Sandstorm shareholders, allowing Sandstorm to be a pure play precious metals streaming and royalty company with a bit of a strategic way that we go about making some of the acquisitions that we do. So that's why Horizon, and as I said, Horizon will be imminently public here in the next few weeks.
All right, something to look forward to. Now, as far as Sandbox Royalties, this company has exposure to gold, copper, silver, uranium, graphite, and lead and zinc, I believe, as well. So this looks like a critical minerals play. Is that what it is? And again, will this company eventually be spun out into a public entity?
So it's a company that already has been spun out. It just hasn't been listed right now. A guy named John Armstrong is the CEO of that company. He was formerly head of M&A globally for the Bank of Montreal. Very, very strong team there. He's also brought on part of the ex-Mavericks team. Mavericks recently just got sold to Triple Flag. And so Sandbox picked up some of those key people. And so it is, like you said, critical minerals and other base and bulks, and they've already got a portfolio that came in from Equinox. Equinox spun out some of their royalties into it. Sandstorm, we took some of our royalties that weren't cash flowing, and we weren't really getting any value for them in Sandstorm, and so we contributed those as well. And the company's going to be floated here this year.
Now, you've said that when you're looking at assets, you really want to have assets that are cash flow imminent. So is that a bit of a pivot, a bit of a change in strategy in terms of not being so far upstream with exploration companies? You want cash flow pretty well right away?
Yeah, we want the bulk of our capital, and by the bulk of it, I mean 95 to 98% of it to be allocated to things that are either cash flowing now or will be cash flowing in the next 12 to 24 months. I mean, Sandstorm really does get evaluated by our large institutional investors based on cash flow multiples and those types of things, and EBITDA multiples. And so we realized over the years that sometimes we would have these small royalties that wouldn't be cash flowing anytime soon, that even though they have inherent value, that we were getting paid absolutely nothing for them. So that's why we sold a few of those to get actual cash and shares on the balance sheet that have an actual mark-to-market value, so that the value that was hidden is no longer hidden and people can see it on the assets in our balance sheet now. And so going forward, you're going to see Sandstorm focus on things that are cash flow or imminent cash flow. You may see us get some things that are a little bit more early stage, but only if it comes with a strategic attempt to tie down a much larger gold stream deal in the future should the mine go into production. So tying down an option on a potential big deal, maybe something we allocate a little bit of capital to, but maybe, like I said, 1 or 2% of our capital.
Now, as far as the broad view of gold, as we speak right now, I'm sure you've got it on your screen there, Nolan, maybe $20 away from closing at an all-time high. You've had a number of years of underinvestment. You've got M&A picking up with Newmont trying to buy Newcrest. Yamana was taken out. You've also got bond yields coming down generally, especially a longer duration bonds. And then you've got the U.S. debt ceiling pending. And we all recall what happened in 2011, the last time they had that intractable dispute that eventually was settled and gold finished at an all-time high. So when you look at all those factors and tailwinds, what's your overall view of gold? Is it set up very nicely right now?
Yeah, I think the structural setup for gold is the best that I've seen it in my career. I've been on the board of the World Gold Council now for a couple of years, and so we get a lot of insights into what's happening that maybe aren't public, generally speaking. And so I would say for all the reasons you mentioned, I'm bullish on gold, but there's a couple of other reasons. One of which is global instability politically is as high as it's been in a generation, with wars, with tensions with China, with the U.S. using sanctions left, right, and center to impose penalties on people who don't do what the U.S. wants them to do. And the U.S. unfortunately does not have, or it has many countries that are not on the good side of the U.S. And for that reason, we're starting to see a de-dollarization effect in the foreign currency reserves of other countries. For example, countries that are holding US dollars who are worried that they're going to get sanctioned and can't use those US dollars if they fall afoul of US foreign policy. They're starting to slowly decrease their exposure to the US dollar, and they're picking up other things, including gold. So central bank buying of gold has started to pick up. I expect that to continue and be a structural change for the next 10 years and continue to be a huge source of purchases. And then there are some really cool things that the World Gold Council is doing in conjunction with the LBMA to restructure how gold is traded worldwide so that it's less ripe for manipulation, so that it's also more ubiquitous and easy to use for all people, including common people who want to buy gold easily on their phones. And so all the reasons you mentioned, plus political instability, de-dollarization, and future use cases for gold, I'm very bullish on it.
That's a very interesting perspective, given your position with the World Gold Council. And I spoke with Randy Smallwood, who I believe is the chairman, correct, of the World Gold Council and of Wheaton Precious, and he was talking about that digital gold possibility. So it's all very interesting. And as you mentioned, central banks, of course, I think it's at record levels now in terms of purchases lately. Let's shift to the stock of Sandstorm. Over the years, it's done well, but perhaps underperformed certain peers. But lately, it has been holding up very nicely and moving sort of neck and neck with a lot of your peers. Do you think investors, Nolan, are looking maybe a little bit differently at Sandstorm now in terms of the moves that you've made, and maybe the stock's at a bit of an inflection point? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. There's a huge transformation that we underwent last year, buying over $1 billion worth of assets, selling some non-core assets. There were a lot of moving pieces, a lot of transactions that had to take time and needed TSX approval. And so sometimes that causes noise and a bit of confusion as to what's going on. We're now come through all of those acquisitions. We've made them, we've done this spin out of most of the non-core assets. And like I said, 3 weeks from now, Horizon will be up and running and that transaction will be completed. So about a month from now, we'll have a very, very, very clean new story of Sandstorm that I can get out there and start talking to institutional investors about. And I really do think it's a story that's going to resonate incredibly well when we get out and market the clean version of Sandstorm. The other thing I would say is, whenever you do those types of transactions, we did have to issue a little bit of equity when we acquired Nomad. Some of their shareholders got Sandstorm shares as part of that acquisition. And there has been some selling pressure. They had a number of strategic holders of that, including, for example, Yamana owned a large block of Sandstorm shares after that transaction worth $50 million. Yamana just got bought, as many people know, by Pan American Silver, and Pan American Silver has been, to my knowledge, selling that block. So it puts a little bit of pressure under the stock, but most of that is done and most of that is through, and Sandstorm's just going to be a strong company with huge amounts of cash flow and a very clean story going forward. And I think that the share price is going to perform really well over the next year or two.
Last couple here for you, Nolan. You've said that Sandstorm Gold Royalties doesn't really compete with the big players in the space, such as Franco-Nevada, for example, and you're more so your competitors are Triple Flag and Osisko Gold Royalties as well. How do you envision Sandstorm down the road? Do you aspire to be a major, or is the sweet spot being a large intermediate?
No, it's a great question. I think the sweet spot isn't a place. The sweet spot is the journey from intermediate to major over time. The intermediates we trade at NAV or just a small premium to NAV. As you become a larger intermediate, you trade maybe at 1.5 times NAV. The majors trade at 2.2 to 2.3 times NAV. And so if you can do intelligent, accretive deals as an intermediate, you can get good rates of return for your shareholders. If the gold price goes up, that sort of just adds to that. If you do deals that have exploration upside, that just adds to your return even further. But then over time, as you slowly continue to grow the company, your multiple continues to grow. So you're getting not just the rate of return from the deals you've done, plus the exploration upside, plus the gold price, you're also getting a re-rate over time. And so it's the journey from intermediate to major, which can take a long period of time. We're not in any hurry to become the next Franco-Nevada, but we do want one day to wake up and be there.
That's a great way of looking at it. And of course, Franco's had a big head start. Now, speaking of the journey, what about your personal journey with you and your team? You started Sandstorm back in 2008. You've gone from 0 assets to 250 plus. Every quarter, you come out with record numbers. You're growing production, as you said, turning into a cash flow machine. You've got this new leg of growth. So how would you describe the journey since 2008 Are you happy with what you've accomplished, and what does Sandstorm look like down the road?
Yeah, I would say that there have been ups and downs, and certainly at times when you're starting a company from nothing, you're subject to the whims of the market. We started in '08 during the Great Recession. That wasn't fun, but we managed to get the company going anyway. We had a good couple years of growing the company post that, 2009 to 2012, and then there was years of just total devastation in the gold market where the average gold company was down 86%. Many gold companies went out of business, and those are a few hard years, but we managed to come through it and build an even stronger portfolio. And I'm pretty proud today. We launched the company at 50 cents originally. We're sitting here at about $8.40 Canadian. So although there's been lots of ups and lots of downs, and certainly the market has been entertaining over the years trying to build a company. Overall, we have managed to add value to companies. I do think that we've got a lot of growth already built in, and because we recently issued some shares, we're not eager to issue any more shares soon. So I think the next year and a bit, if I'm sort of being reflective, I think will be probably the most calm and consolidative years of the company's growth. We're just going to allow the existing mines we bought to get built, enjoy the cash flow from that, and tighten up our share structure here. So I'm looking forward to the next 2 years.
And so are shareholders and people who follow the company. It was really great to catch up with you, Nolan. Thanks for your insight, and we hope to do it again down the road. We'll be watching.
Well, sounds good. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, Nolan Watson, President and CEO of Sandstorm Gold Royalties.